everybody, welcome back to this segment of A Writer's World. It's your girl Whitney, and today I'm going to be talking about emotionally abusive relationships. Oh my goodness. Sometimes we don't really, let me speak for myself. So when I was in an emotionally abusive relationship, I did not realize that I was in that relationship, that type of relationship, for one, and for two, for me, it was just kind of like something that I thought was going to be the best that I could ever get, because it was something different. He was different than the father figure I had in my life, and I was like, this is the greatest that it's ever going to get. And to kind of give you a background of myself, I was involved with someone for like 4 years. I didn't really date them for 4 years, but on and off for 3 years. But like, they were someone who I genuinely thought was going to be my husband, and I didn't realize that we were both emotionally abusive to each other. Keyword both, because I was so wrapped up in loving this person that I was continuously holding on tight and trying to justify and give excuses for their actions and my reaction to their actions. So if you guys are interested in learning the 5 ways that we as everyday human beings can point out the signs that you, or maybe one of your friends or a potential person, is in an emotionally abusive relationship, then keep on watching. So one of the signs that kind of made me kind of go on alert was that a lot of the advice that I was given was delivered in a way that was nice and loving. However, the words itself were very demeaning. So one way that you can point out that you're in an emotionally abusive relationship is by the language, right? So even though the way it's delivered, as it seems like it's so loving, pay attention to the words that they are telling you. It's like Christmas morning, you're going to the Christmas tree, right? And then you're expecting the advice or the gifts, right, that you're getting to be gifts. And then you open it up and it's cold. And then you're just kind of wondering like, well, why did you wrap it up? Why would you get me so excited if you're just gonna bring me down? You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, a couple language that they would say to you is like, for example, say you're not doing what they're doing, right? Say they're saying to you, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but you're not really doing much, and I want to see more out of you. And it's just like, it's, that sort of thing people do say, right? It's because like they want to see their significant other get better. And I'm not saying that that's like every single situation is an emotional abusive relationship. That's not what I'm saying by any means. I'm talking about how consistent is it? How demeaning is it, for one? And how harsh is it? But also you have to pay attention to the point of like, are they comparing you to themselves? Are they saying that they are the top tier and you don't meet the top tier? That's where it becomes emotional abuse. My next sign that I can give you guys is, like I said, right? Like it literally was a perfect segue, and I didn't even realize that he will constantly, or let me not say he, they will constantly compare you to the things that they are doing versus what you are doing. So when I was in this particular relationship, I was being constantly compared to like, oh, I don't have a job. And like, I did have jobs. Like I had like 3 jobs at one point, but it just wasn't, I had 4 at one point, to be quite honest with you. But anyways, it just wasn't important because it wasn't, a full-time job with benefits directly in my field. And while the like 3 jobs that I had were in my field, they were part-time or they didn't have benefits. And it just like, you would be constantly compared to their standpoint, and they would think that if you're not on their level or above, you're nothing. You're basically just like at the bottom of the food chain. Or if you're something that's not STEM related, like if you're in a field that's not STEM related, that is heavy, because a lot of things that I have experienced was that, oh, you chose the wrong major, you're going to have to work a lot harder than everybody, and it's just like, on top of that, you're a Black woman as well. Like, why would you do something to yourself to make your life a hell of a lot more harder when you already have the odds stacked against you? And so that sort of language would make you think that, like, oh wow, like they are absolutely correct. But like I said in tip 1, it's sort of like a demeaning factor where you're thinking like, oh, they are so right, but your walls are slowly being broken down. And I don't want to say your walls like for your vulnerability as far as like being vulnerable with someone else. It's just like, it's literally breaking down your mental fortitude, your whole backbone, your whole confidence that you once had in yourself. Like, you will tend to lose yourself in that emotionally abusive relationship, thinking that they are trying to help you. Another tip, right? They can express their emotions to you, but you seem to not be able to express your emotions to them. Now, this is very vital because it's just like when you're in this sort of bubble, right, where you're both vulnerable to each other, you're both loving each other, but you know, one person is able to tell everything to the other person, but this person has to stay quiet, and they can't necessarily tell them that the other person is wrong because they do not have the value, nor do they have the status to tell person A that, you know, they may not be doing the right thing here. And also think about bringing a problem. Think we have person A, the emotional abuser, and person B who is suffering, right? The victim, I guess we can call it, right? Because that is, let's be real, they are a victim. And so person A is sharing everything to person B, and so person B thinks, okay, wow, we're growing. And so person B tries to explain to person A their shortcomings, not even shortcomings, but their problems, and think about like their problems specifically with person A. That is not going to cut it because person A thinks like, why are you having a problem with me? Like, you do not have, like I said, the value, nor do you have the status. You cannot see me. You don't know what I'm doing in my life, right? Like, how can you tell me that you have a problem when you don't even know what problems are in the first place? And I was told that, and I was just like, it's a lot of like, I guess you can call it a bit naive kind of being in this sort of situation, because you're thinking like, oh, well, they have my best interest at heart. But then at the same time, you're like, someone who's outside looking in is like, bro, this is controlling as hell. Like, what you doing? But when you're like in love, of course, everybody makes mistakes, especially when you're 18 or like even younger than that, or even when you're older. Like, I can't just act like it's just the young mind, because people get wrapped up in this in a while. And once your feelings are involved, it's hard to get out. And I don't want to make it sound like it's some sort of prison, but in a sense, it kind of is. It's a mental prison, because you start thinking yourself as less than. You start looking in the mirror and not seeing yourself anymore, because you think like, wow, why haven't I done so much? I am 21 to 3 years old and I still don't have a job, even though I graduated college. Or why am I trying to go to post-secondary, oh, I don't want to say post-secondary, but postgraduate education? Like, why am I trying to get a law degree, a med school degree? Why am I getting a master's? Like, when I have so much in debt, like, I have to continue because I can't make anything of myself unless I continue, right? And so like that sort of thinking where like you cannot do anything on your own without person A is the emotional abuse, because then you start being dependent. Then you start losing your independence and you start looking for value, and you start looking for that value in someone else. You start looking for acceptance in person A, and you start looking for them to start telling you what is acceptable, so that way you can finally have some peace. And that's such a horrible thing to have on your shoulders, because it's just like, for example, I feel like I don't want to put everything, you know, obviously everything is not on like person A, right? Because like, think of me as like person B in this moment. And like, you really have to be real with yourself here, because like, I don't want to make it sound like you're blaming the victim, because it's not the victim's fault by any means necessary. I don't think so at all. But it's also like, during the time that you're going through this emotionally abusive relationship, or watching it outside, you know, or like basically, you know, you're dating someone before you've made it official and you see the signs, a lot of person B's tend to ignore the signs because we think it's just, you know, going to get better as we keep on going, or we can change them, or this is something that I can handle. And me, I started to get to the point to where I was like, I can handle this for the rest of my life. It's okay, because everything else is so perfect. Even though I was lying to myself, like the whole thing was just, I don't want to say it was a disaster, but it just wasn't up to par. And it definitely wasn't like anything that either one of us should have been in for that long. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of the things that is within an emotionally abusive relationship brings a lot of insecurities. It brings a lot of scare, a lot of fear, a lot of, you know, you don't want to let go of that person, because I know in my case, I didn't want to be alone. And that's horrible to do to somebody, which is why I say that I was also person A, because I was also trying to hold on to this person who obviously wanted to leave. And like, well, that can be like a completely different conversation, but like, it's just, you hold on to somebody so tight, they're gonna feel so constricted and confined that they cannot move. And that goes for person A and person B. And while we're kind of moving on to feeling constricted and confined, which leads me to my next point, you always seem like you are walking on thin ice, or you're walking on eggshells, right? It's horrible. Like, you always feel like if you're gonna do something, or if you're gonna talk too loud, or if you tell them like, hey, I don't like this, you're gonna get in trouble. Whenever you're in a relationship, you should never feel like you're going to get in trouble. And like, of course, you know, we can kind of make a joke about it and be like, well, like, you know, if, you know, we're in a heterosexual relationship and the man is like, damn, I forgot to take out the chicken and thaw it from this morning, he's like, damn, my girl is gonna be so mad at me. Like that sort of element of being in trouble is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the sort of element where you feel like you are a child and they are a parent, right? Like they are talking down to you and they're all like, oh, I need to lead you by example because you can't do this by yourself. That is such strong language that nobody needs to be in that sort of predicament. Or if somebody's telling you like, hey, you can't do this on your own. I've always seen you as someone who needed help. So I always feel like I'm dragging you along and you just can't be left alone. And so in a way, in the relationship that I was in, we were both holding on to each other so tight. Whereas me, I felt like I was restricted because I couldn't be 100% myself because of fear of, you know, having too many loans or like not being up to par to their standards. Whereas like someone else might feel like, or that other person might feel like, you know, I'm always in trouble for these things. Why can't I just have some peace? And so within an emotional abusive relationship, a lot of the characteristics that person B is going to have is, you know, the victim, is that they're going to be a lot insecure. They're going to be mad about certain things that they probably wouldn't be mad about if they weren't being emotionally abused, right? And so, for example, a lot of the things that person A might be doing is that they might be dancing on the border of what's allowed in the relationship. And the thing is that person B may feel uncomfortable about talking about, you know, that line with person A, because guess what person A is going to say? The abuser, let's keep in mind, you know, guess what they're going to say? I drew the line in the first place. So why do you think that you have the authority to say anything about this relationship? I'm happy, leave it alone. But what about us? Like, what about everyone else? What about me? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, it don't make no sense. It really doesn't make any type of sense. If you are in a relationship where you feel like you are either the parent or the child, I would highly suggest that you reevaluate yourself, your relationship, and the combination of the two, right? Because nobody wants to be in a relationship dynamic like that. Like, I didn't leave my parents' house to, you know, have another parent. Like, I didn't, you know, I'm 23 years old. I'm not trying to have another parent. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's trying to be that way. Nobody's trying to constantly feel confined. And like for person A as well, nobody wants to feel like a parent. Like honestly, if we're being 100% real with somebody, me, I don't want to feel like my man's a child. I want to feel like my man takes care of himself, that he can handle himself without me being around. Like why would I even think that he can't handle himself unless I am around? Like he's a grown ass man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to date grown ass men who, when we come together, we complement each other, we grow with each other, there's no toxicity. There's like, I don't want to be in a relationship where someone says that you bring out the worst and the best in me. I don't think that that is, you know, you were equally yoked. I don't want someone to ever take out the worst in me ever again, because I don't ever want to see that side of me. No, I don't want to ever see that side of me ever again. And I don't want to be with somebody who does that to me. And it's just like, you think that that would eventually happen, or that's naturally going to happen because you're going to be with them, and say you're with them for a while. No, like I'm literally telling you, you're probably thinking, okay, let me stay on this one track. I'm literally telling you it's not okay. Like you don't need someone that brings the absolute worst in you, because why are they doing that to you in the first place? Why are they taking your character and constantly compromising it? You see what I'm saying? And like I was about to say, you may think like, wow, you're really young. I don't know why you're out here talking about this on this platform. You know, you probably need a lot more experience. To be quite honest with you, I feel like with, you know, I haven't had a lot of relationships, but the most serious relationships that I have had, I feel like I experienced all types of horrible relationships that I could have, minus the, you know, physically abusive one. Like I've experienced the controlling, the emotionally abusive, the cheater. Like I've experienced the liar, the guy who, you know, like I'm talking about today, you know, it's just, and like the most perfect relationship too, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I have all this experience in such a short amount of time that I've been dating, that I'm like, I feel like it really doesn't matter how long you've been dating if you've experienced it. If you've experienced it, you know what you're not wanting in the next relationship. You know what you are going to accept in the next relationship, and you know whether or not you're going to make those mistakes again. Best believe, like I know the signs of an emotional abuser to a T, and I cannot say that I was entirely smart throughout that relationship. However, I have definitely learned a large lesson. And you know, that is literally one of my testimonies. God has really taught me that, one, to listen. You know what I'm saying? Listen to what he has to say when this is not, you know, for me. To let go of the wheel, first of all, let him lead. And if we're kind of taking like a spiritual aspect out of it, if, you know, I have viewers out there that don't believe in God, maybe you should pay attention to the signs. Pay attention to your friends who say that they don't like him. There's a reason. If everyone in your family does not like the person you are dating, there's a reason why, and there's a problem. Me, I literally was making so many excuses because I was like, you know, y'all just don't understand. Like, you really have to meet him first. He's really funny. He may come off as, you know, this way first off, but you just need to get past the barrier. They got past the barrier and they were just like, I don't like what I see beyond. And it really was offensive, and I would get defensive about it, and I would just be like, okay, but you don't know him. And they're like, well, I don't want to. And there's a reason why. Like, you really, if your friends who've been with you for like years and your family don't like them, and it's just like, it doesn't even matter of how much you told them about the relationship itself. If they meet them and they got a bad vibe, that's it. Like, your family knows. Your friends who know you 100% know. And you just have to trust their judgment. Most of the times you just have to trust their judgment. So my last tip was kind of like what I stated before. You are not able to express yourself to your significant other, or you cannot come to them with relationship problems. And so I want to make the distinction between emotions, like regular emotions, like things that you got on through your day, versus, you know, the relationship problems. These two are both separate tips, because I know that in my experience with, you know, dealing with my emotions, during the time that I was in the emotionally abusive relationship, I went through a lot of emotions outside, you know, of the relationship as well, because, you know, I was in college, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and I was changing my career a few times. I thought I was going to get my master's of public administration, but I didn't know what I was gonna do with that. I was thinking about going into politics because I really like politics, but I also didn't want to because, you know, the sharks. And I was just like not knowing what I was going to do. And I genuinely believe that yes, a lot of emotions is a weight on somebody, but when they start telling you to stop telling them your problems, you need to take a step back and be like, whoa, what did you just say? Like, you're supposed to be there for me. You're supposed to support me 100%. We're supposed to support each other. Like, this isn't no 50-50 relationship. I don't believe in those. We can have a conversation on that later. But this is a 100-100. Like, you're still supposed to focus on you 100%, just like we're going to focus on this relationship 100%. Like, what you mean don't tell you what's going on with me? How am I supposed to heal? How are we supposed to grow together? And nobody wants a long-lasting relationship like that. Unless, let me say this, unless it works for you and your partner to just not do that, then by all means, I'm just saying that I don't necessarily suggest that. All this being said, I just wanted to let you guys know a couple experiences that I've had and also what I have experienced seeing with different people who have been in this type of relationship. Hopefully you guys don't get wrapped up in anything like this. I pray to God nobody gets in no abusive, emotionally, physical, whatever it may be type of relationship. And I really hope that, you know, God will bless you, that you will get in a relationship that is perfectly fitting. I pray to God that the relationship that I'm in now will last 100% and that, you know, after you know, a year, he won't go crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like, because everything is fantastic and great, that it's just like you just want the best for everyone and everyone, for anybody and everyone that's out there. Like, I genuinely wish you guys nothing but love and happiness. You know, I come up here and I genuinely want to help everyone, even if it is just one person. So I thank you guys for watching me today. Don't forget, I am trying to start a new segment on my channel where I, you know, answer whatever, I guess, questions, or you send me your stories, your lives, whatever's going on, and I will read them on my channel and give you whatever advice that you would love for me to give, if you trust me. And I hope I have, you know, established my credibility on here. You know, if you have questions for me also in general, shoot that to my email. It is on the screen. And if you don't see it on the screen, what you doing, right? It's also in the description box down below. While you're down there, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn on your post notifications. Wow, I'm tongue-tied. Turn on your post notifications so you never miss when I post a new video. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next week.